Welcome to the Wadcast Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Ift. I am here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't know what degree it is. It's too cold for me. It's to the point where I'm unhappy. It's
Very
all
cool.
it doesn't take much for me to be unhappy. Probably around as soon as you go below about 68 degrees, I start getting unhappy. So I'm here in Minneapolis. I'm doing shows at the House of Comedy in the Mall of America because it's always been a dream. And I've been here many times before in Minneapolis. People are very nice, and many CrossFit gyms reached out to me. I want to thank you guys for inviting me by. I'm sorry, but the hotel I stay in is connected to the mall where I perform, and I don't leave the building. And today I finally left because I needed some vitamin D, and I went out and it was so cloudy I didn't get any of that. But I had to leave because there was an interesting opportunity I had that I wanted to take for you guys, and also because I'm one of those people that likes to say I told you so all the time. And this was a very good opportunity for me to say I told you so. So I had the opportunity, thanks to a Wadcast listener, Matt Cole, who was my coach today, at a very different kind of gym, an interesting, I'm calling it the evolution of fitness. I came out to a place called Alchemy 365, and I worked out first, and now I'm doing the podcast with the CEO, co-owner, is that correct?
Yeah, co-founder, CEO.
Co-founder, CEO, Mike Jones, who, connecting with him on the phone, found out we have mutual friends, and that would be Kenny Kane. You guys all know Kenny. Well, Kenny knows everybody in the fitness industry. And years ago, when I came to St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul, I came out here, and Kenny took me to do a workout at, I believe it was CrossFit St. Paul.
Yeah, CrossFit St. Paul. That was our first CrossFit gym.
And I went in and did a workout with Deborah Carson.
Yep.
Who is a former games athlete, games, not regional. She's the real deal. She was badass. And we did some kind of squat muscle up workout that was like, it was like ascending muscle ups, descending squats.
Gross.
But whatever it was brutal. And I remember feeling like I was there all day because I got to like the set of like the final set of like 20 muscle ups or something. That was like, can you guys just leave me the keys?
And
I'll finish.
Yeah, she was probably done in 6 minutes.
She had put on her coat, her long underwear, taken off her Metcons or whatever Reebok shoes she was wearing, and put on like ski boots and left. And then she came back to do her second workout, and I was still on the rings, hanging. But I'm here right now with Mike, and his gym is called Alchemy 365. And I find it very interesting. The reason I'm talking a lot and not just interviewing Mike is because for years I've talked about how CrossFit eventually, the knowledge and wisdom and training methodology was going to become so immersed amongst people, gym goers, that they were going to say, why do I have to pay for an affiliate fee? Why do I have to pay for a certification? Why doesn't everybody, if everybody knows it, why do you need this? And so the future to CrossFit to me seemed like, why would you pay this money? Why not just create your gym? And I remember, I won't say his name, but a good friend who owns a CrossFit gym that doesn't have CrossFit in their name. And I said to him once, I go, why did you name your gym this? And he goes, don't you listen to your own fucking show? He goes, I mean, you talk about it constantly. And I also thought that with that, you have the freedom to go in different directions and kind of create your own world and your own idea of what fitness is, and not have to follow their template. So coming to Alchemy, I'm going to let you describe better what it is. But it was very interesting. I did a class today, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was amazing. We did a warm up, which was yoga, about 10 to 20 minutes of yoga, and then we did a 10-minute. I wouldn't call it. It was a an AMRAP, and then we did 10 more minutes of yoga, which was so necessary. Yeah. Like that was the part that I was like, oh, I'm going to leave here recovered, and I don't feel like I've ruined myself. I feel like I can live, and I felt amazing, and I had 100% great experience. 100%. I can't say one bad thing about it.
Really? 100%?
100%.
Wow, that's pretty hard to get.
I was looking around. I was trying to pick it apart, and I was going this. It was. I could see this complementing my regiment of like what I do. I don't know if I would, for what I do, I don't know if it would be full time, but it could be. I mean, it absolutely could be. I know I didn't do one of the other classes, which was the strong class. Again, I'm talking too much. I'm going to let you explain. And then we'll get sort of into what you do in your past and everything. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for having me, first of all.
Thank you.
Good to connect with you.
Thank you.
I'm positive it was like 8 years ago that we first met with Kenny. We call him KK here in Minnesota.
We call him Kenny Cocaine.
Ha! That's better.
Because he's the energy of a cokehead.
Yeah, that is true.
Not maybe anymore because of the kids.
I've actually never met anyone like him, even close. But yeah, so Alchemy, we can get into the past and all that stuff, how we started with CrossFit. That was our first business that we just got out of. We just sold in June.
And you had how many locations?
We had 3. We had 4 and then 3.
Okay.
We had one not failed, but one really small location. So 3 locations founded in 2009. And as we were growing our CrossFit business, we were having a lot of success. We were doing all the things that successful affiliate owners do. We were opening an additional location or 2. We were trying to fill up the gyms. We were adding strength programs. We were adding Olympic lifting. We were considering switching our brand, just like you talked about, to a non-CrossFit name. And really for us, it wasn't even at that point in 2013 an issue of, do we want to have CrossFit in our name? It was, we have multiple gyms, so we need a unified brand. So we created a brand called Union Fitness, and that worked pretty well for a couple of years for us to unify the gyms. And as we were growing, things were going well in 2013, and Minnesota is 3 or 4 years behind East and West Coast in terms of the development of CrossFit, I would say. So 13, I mean, I'm sure Southern California was probably where it is now in Minnesota in CrossFit. In 13, it was growing rapidly, and anyone who did a decent job was going to grow in terms of CrossFit. And we thought we were going to keep growing. We're going to keep opening CrossFit gyms. We're going to fill them up. We're going to continue to add services. And we saw very clearly, which many other thousands of gym affiliate owners saw, which is our stuff is hard and scary, and we need to have entry-level programs that are accessible, that are effective, and that allows us to meet a wider audience. And so our evolution of doing that to ultimately launch Alchemy was start offering yoga in our dingy warehouse. And we did a really bad job at it, like many CrossFit gyms do. But nonetheless, we did it. Right. And then we saw our primary player here is Core Power Yoga. They're the dominant player in the boutique fitness space in the Twin Cities. Orange Theory Fitness is the leader nationally now.
I've never been to Orange Theory. I just assumed Orange Theory was more of like an F45. Is it? Do they do yoga?
No, sorry. Okay. I'm just talking boutique in general.
Right.
Orange Theory is the dominant player, so I'll probably reference them a lot.
Are they like high interval in intensity?
They are. Orange Theory is a block, like 20 minutes of treadmill or 20 minutes of rowing, so conditioning, and then you move over and you do lightweight circuit style training, and they crush it. They are the leader in our industry. Nobody's even close to them, and they're only 10 years old, which is crazy.
They're crushing CrossFit?
Oh, yeah. They crush everybody.
Soul Cycle?
Well, Soul Cycle is a different model, but yes, absolutely. The average Orange Theory, it's a franchise, so that's why that's how they have 1,000. The average Orange Theory, I just looked up their franchise disclosure just 2 weeks ago, actually. Their average Orange Theory that has been open over a year does 1.1 million in sales and per year. and they're only a 3,000 foot space. So their profit is probably 45%.
Wow.
Per location.
Wow. And if you guys are wondering why Mike here is very into the numbers and everything, the guy's got an MBA from Georgetown. So that's not an easy school to get into.
Yeah, sorry. You can give me like the head tap when I start getting too
No.
based.
We don't. We have a bunch of meatheads on this show, so
Right.
it's nice to kind of get those numbers across, because I think there's been, there was the dream of CrossFit that everyone was going to get in, make $1 million, do what they loved, be in fitness and health, and there's a lot of unhappy gym owners around there that haven't made the money they thought they were going to make. There's a lot of money being made at the top. Some people have said, hey, this is kind of pyramidy. That, there's the people that are giving out the certifications, the affiliates that are making a fortune. And then everybody down below is like really just trying to make a living. And in this past few years, there's been a lot of gyms for sale.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real hard. So,
what do you think the profitability was on your 4 CrossFit gyms? What would you say?
That's a good question. So I've become very, very well versed in, what you call unit economics, which is what a studio or gym, what it looks like from a revenue minus expenses equals profit standpoint in our industry, because that's kind of what it's all about in terms of being able to grow a business. So I would guess, so we had CrossFit St. Paul. Mm-hmm. The first one we opened, the first one in St. Paul was our most successful. It was like 50,000 in sales per month. And I'm going to say 25% profit. And then the next one, so that was like, what's the math? 600,000 a year in sales. And 150,000 in profit. So pretty good.
Yeah, that is good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not good enough to be a national concept though.
Okay.
You need to be over 30%.
Okay.
And
you were at only 25%.
We're about 25%, maybe 30%, because that drove like all of our profit for the business. The next one, CrossFit Minneapolis, was like, call it 500,000 in sales, a little bit lower profit, so maybe 75,000 in profit. And then the third one, CrossFit St. Louis Park, it never hit the numbers that we wanted it to hit. And that gets back into why, as we were launching Alchemy, we launched that one in 2013, and then we kind of started peaking, but it never did what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then we launched Alchemy in 2014, shifted focus, and it never had a chance because you have to focus. And the CrossFit business is so, I call it messy, that it really works to have an owner operator do it and put their blood, sweat, and tears in it. And, maybe they don't get great financial return, but they can make it work.
You're saying it's hard to franchise.
Yeah.
Like to own multiple locations, because you've got to be.
I think so.
You've got to be hands-on.
I think so. And there's a lot of factors into that. And kind of getting back to why we launched Alchemy, that was one of the big pieces where we thought we were going to grow forever. We wanted to get more accessible. We started offering yoga. We saw what Core Power Yoga's business model was like. Sorry, that's why I got digressed into Orange Theory. But Core Power's business model.
This show's all about digression.
Yeah.
I have attention deficit disorder, and people listening are probably like, Eddie, get back to that now.
I do too.
Okay. Well, let's try. We'll try, but don't fault us.
Yeah.
We have problems.
Yeah. So Core Power, they're a yoga studio. They're the national leader in yoga from the boutique space. They have 180 corporate-owned locations, so they're not a franchise.
Wow.
So they sold in 2013 and continued to grow. And we saw them, and that really opened my eyes about what my industry was really like, because like I just told you, CrossFit St. Paul, I was making an okay living. I had twins. I was having kids. I would call myself an entrepreneur starting a CrossFit gym, because you aren't just opening a franchise. You can make it what you want it to be, which is one of the things I loved most about it.
Were you also just a fitness nerd your whole life?
No, I wasn't
really?
Actually. No, I was an athlete. I played lacrosse in college, and then I became an infantry officer in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So I was, an athlete and a physical person, but I was never a gym rat, to be honest. And everyone who knows me, by looking at me, you would agree. I'm pretty average.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. We're average looking guys. Yeah. Not very good at CrossFit. I went to business school after the Marine Corps for 2 years full time, and I got fat. Like I just ate.
Yeah.
I got like 20 pounds overweight.
Did you hang out at the Tombs?
Yes, I did hang out with Tombs. That's good, man. Yeah, the Tombs, and there's this sub shop there that I got literally got the same, like,
What's the name of the sub shop?
God, I can't remember.
I know it.
It's
I
next
know
to the
it.
Tombs.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I lived in Washington D.C. for a little bit. I used to work for a senator.
Oh, nice.
And I lived in Burleith, right on the outside of Georgetown, 37th and T.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved it there. And I got fat. I ate one of those subs every day. It was like a fried chicken thing.
Yeah, I think awesome. I did too.
And so I came up to Minnesota to work for 3M, like as a corporate guy, and I was going to be just a corporate executive type. But I always wanted to start a business. My wife, Andrea, she became a personal trainer when we moved up here. So she was like my credibility or my way in. I heard about CrossFit in 2008 and from a buddy who was going in the Marine Corps. And I did what many people did back then, where there weren't any gyms in the area. So I went on the website and I was like, this can't really be a thing. Like, it can't really work like this. And then I went to Lifetime Fitness and I did a workout and I was like, wow. Like, I think I actually did Fran in my first couple of weeks. And I think it was like, 14 minutes.
See, I was the opposite. I did Fran in the beginning of CrossFit, but my standards were horrendous. Yeah. So I did it in like a blinding time and thought, I'm like one of the best in the world at this. Cause wow. I would look on the, that's back when everybody would put on the site how they did. And I'm like,
I'm pretty good.
I'm really good at this. I did like 302 or something, but wow. But my squats were not even close to parallel and, with the thrusters and, didn't lock out at the top and, my pull-ups, it's weird. I forget if I had already known how to, this is because I didn't know how to butterfly at the time. So my pull-ups were those ones where you don't go all the way to extension.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like I did half of Fran.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was no burn. There was no coughing afterwards. I was like, this is
like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, I should really get into this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my experience was the opposite. It was so slow that I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right.
Right.
But yeah, but like many people, I was like, this is something different. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the opportunity to go to a local gym, but luckily someone opened one totally across town. So I drove a half hour.
Does that one still exist?
Yeah, it does. I think all of them in Minnesota still do.
That's great.
I think maybe one has closed. But yeah, I got into it that way, and I was admittedly more on the business side, where I was like, this is a really cool opportunity. I like this a lot. I can see how it's differentiated. I thought like an MBA at that time, which is like, there's a clear gap in the marketplace. Like at that point in 2008, there was nothing even close to it, period. And it is a revolutionary fitness concept.
It really is.
It has changed everything. So that got me into it. And my wife and I started the gym, and then we have a partner named Tyler Quinn who opened CrossFit Minneapolis at the same time, and we merged.
So businesses. Is Tyler the one I know also?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he was young back then. He was right out of college.
He was a monster. He was very into it.
He was really good. Yeah.
He's a former hockey player.
Yeah. He was a hockey player. He was really good. He was like, and he won't be mad at me for saying this, he was like a regional caliber player back before there was really regionals, and then once it
but that still was bad.
It was still awesome. Like he was the shit. But once it popped in 2010 or whatever, like he couldn't even, nobody can do that kind of thing. So
there were some weirdos that we didn't know about.
Yeah, freaks.
That's what they are.
Yeah. So yeah, we were growing, and we saw this. I mean, not to talk business speak again, but we saw this gap, and it was, we want to keep expanding. We want to offer what we do believe is this revolutionary fitness methodology. It really is, but it's scary. People won't do it. There's too many CrossFit gyms. We're competing against the same brand across the street, a quarter mile away. Like, there's all this weird stuff. And we started seeing a confluence in 2013, where, there were becoming too many gyms. And the concept, I like to think now, but looking back on it, like CrossFit is it was too good of a product. It is meant to be niche. I know that, Glassman is a visionary, and I know he wants it to be for everyone, but if it's done well, it's not for everyone.
Right.
Sadly. Or they don't think it is, from a marketing standpoint, like you can't beat the consumer over the head and force them to do what you want them to do. Like they're going to do what they want.
Speaking of branding, if you're a gym owner or a manager of a gym, then this message is specifically for you. There's a company, For Athletics. They make amazing clothing. They make it's 100% USA made premium legging. They make these leggings. Think Lululemon, Alo Yoga, Beyond Yoga, etc. They've created a true one-stop for gym owners when it comes to co-branding leggings. So we're talking co-branding. They've created and are continuing to develop a co-branding platform for their all-time best-selling legging, the Rise Up High Waist 7/8 Omni legging. They want to help you as a gym owner. They want to help you get your logo or branding on premium leggings for your members to work out in and then rep your gym everywhere. So this co-branding platform has been designed to make leggings with your logo or brand on them. And it's easy. It can't be any easier. All you got to do is go to their website. It's For Athletics. It's a true one-stop shopping for your gym. They make the leggings. They give you access to their designers to get the branding on the leggings and provide you with the renderings to share with your members for pre-sale orders. They have an in-house like printers that print on the leggings for you, and they fulfill all the orders to do the shipping and fulfillment for you. So you do nothing. You basically just, you show your members, and possibly the best part is there's no minimum orders. So if you're a gym of 5 people or you're a gym of 500 people, you can whatever, and you just get them, and you start out and you get your members using it, and they brand for you like we've been talking about in this episode. And your members are out there spreading the word for you. And here's the best part. The insanely low price. They start at $40 per legging. So this co-branding platform's been designed with a small gym owner in mind first. And if you have limited resources at your disposal, we want to act, we, the Wadcast, are going to help you with For Athletics. So, check them out. I think this is a wonderful idea. This is stuff gyms need to do more. And that is get your name out there as much as you can, because people see people wearing these and they go, what is that? They Google it. They find out where the gym is. They see those people in shape and they're like, next thing they know, they're coming to your gym. So visit forathletics.com and click on co-branding. That's co-branding at For Athletics. That's FOUR athletics.com. I originally got into it because of the whole like Navy SEAL aspect of it. I was out of college. I couldn't run track anymore. I tried triathlons. I didn't want to be one of those like lanky endurance guy. I wanted to have some muscle, but also be able to run, play sports, do all this stuff. And I had a cousin who was in the SEALs, and he had shown me CrossFit, and I would go to, or I was going to the SEAL Fit website and doing SEAL Fit, because I originally started doing what they do to get into buds, which is like push up, pull up, sit ups, squats. And that was it. And the workouts just built every day to more and more. And it got to the point where I was doing like 400 sit ups, 400. It was so routine and so boring.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was in great shape. And then he said, go to this website. And that's where it all changed. And then the SEAL Fit site would say, when they didn't post, they would say, go to CrossFit.com. Right. So whenever Kenny said to me, we talked one day and we were friends for a while. And he said, I told him what I was doing. He's like, yeah, that's what I do. And I go, really? And he's like, yeah, there's a gym, And he took me to Paradiso CrossFit in its infancy. And I felt like from the beginning, I was doing this and I thought I was way more badass than I was. But I thought, this is making me into a badass. Like I was a college athlete. I'm now back, 10 years later, back in my college prime again. Yep. And I'm doing shit that I couldn't even do then, that I'm doing now. And I felt like this is an elite athlete program. And when I saw, but it can be scaled for moms and soccer moms. And I was like, okay, I can see that with proper training. I can see that. But I also saw that I, sent my brother and my brother-in-law and everyone to go do it also. And they would all go, hey, I found out I have a slip disc or I have a torn rotator.
Yeah.
And I would go, and people, I know listeners, especially gym owners right now, are going, well, that was poor coaching. Yes, it was, but that's a problem from the whole system.
Yep.
The fact that there was poor coaching, that people walked into that gym and were able to work out with poor coaches. And I'm not going to say the gyms where they went and worked out, but and those are good gyms now. Mm-hmm. But back then, there was a lot of poor coaching. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people that tried it, thought it was great for 3 months, and then we're sitting there going, I've got an injury.
Yeah, CrossFit hurt my shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the argument always is, every sport will hurt you.
Yeah.
I get that. You can get hurt skiing. You can get hurt playing football. You can get hurt playing basketball. But CrossFit can hurt you. There is where there and hurt you more than and I know this is like if fucking people from headquarters are listening right now, they're like they're probably sending the men in black suits to come find me. But no matter what you say, like if you're gonna push it and you're gonna try to be your best, there's a high level of injury, I believe, and you can give me all the statistics in the world, but
absolutely, yeah. And obviously that's one of the big things where you think CrossFit is a brand, and the brand, I think CrossFit is one of the most powerful, or one of the best position brands I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And when I say CrossFit is not for everybody, I mean it behaviorally. Like you said, like there are plenty of soccer moms that CrossFit is perfect for, obviously. Right. Like go into any CrossFit gym and the biggest badasses are like the 28-year-old women who go for 3 hours a day, So yeah, I mean, behaviorally, it doesn't matter what.
So funny how there is that group.
You know what I mean?
Those 28-year-old women, they're so
incredible.
Good. So good.
Yeah. So it's a behavioral
Talking
thing.
to you, Lauren Gravatt.
Yeah. It's a behavioral thing. And then the big thing, the thing that sucks about CrossFit is just unfortunate, where it's like you take a 30-year-old dude who played football and had a rotator cuff injury when he was 20, and he hasn't taken his shoulder to full range of motion in 10 years. Yep. So he has an injury already. He starts CrossFit. He has good coaching, and he does it for a month, and then his injury flares up and he can't do CrossFit anymore. And he says to his friends, I did CrossFit and I got hurt. Yep. And that's the shit that happened over the past 10 years where it's at now. It's just the average consumer who thinks about CrossFit thinks it is too intense or I'll get hurt. And it doesn't mean it's true.
And as much as all the people that are in it and that are part of it, working there, doing it, you see it the way CrossFit sees it, that was either poor coaching or that can happen in any sport. You need to realize that the outside world, that most people don't CrossFit. The vast majority of people in this country do not CrossFit.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into why we launch Alchemy.
Just because their whole world seems like everyone they know CrossFits, the vast majority of the world does not CrossFit. The vast, and those people have an impression now because, and I don't think CrossFit cut it off early enough. The problem with that bad publicity of, and you can blame it on, the company that funds Coca or the Coca-Cola funds or whatever, word of mouth travels very fast. And when a lot of people say, oh yeah, I tried that, I got hurt. It spreads a bad word. And I think they're making an attempt right now with CrossFit Health and splitting up the games and the health. And I think they're trying to come at it now to stop that, but it's going to be a hard climb out of that impression that just go poll your friends that don't do CrossFit and say, do the word association and say, I'm going to say a word. You tell me what you think. And their third word might be injury.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, don't get mad at me because I'm giving you the truth right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even, it doesn't even have to be a political thing because it's not about what a good gym looks like. It's not about what good instruction is. It's truly just consumer sentiment, what the public thinks. And the whole concept that you just pointed out, most people don't do CrossFit, is one of the reasons why we launched Alchemy. Because we were sitting there with this awesome niche product where you need 200 members to have a decent business. We were having trouble hitting those numbers, but we were kind of hitting them, and we were loving our jobs, changing people's lives every day.
Yeah.
But getting to how to keep growing, we, for better or worse, me and my partners have always just been like, we want to grow something. We want to make something big. It's not really primarily a financially driven thing. It's more, we want to do big things.
Yeah.
And so seeing a bunch of different things, which is like it wasn't primarily the CrossFit brand wasn't a primary issue at that time. The primary issue at that time in 2013, when we were coming up with the concept, which was originally like, hey, let's just open a yoga studio, compete with Core Power Yoga, get more people, get our members to come more often and create like a network. That was what we thought we were going to do, because we were going to keep opening CrossFit gyms. And then I saw how different the Core Power Yoga business model. They're more like $1 million in sales per year, 40% profit. They get 200 people per day to go through. They just crush it. And that was the biggest eye-opening thing, where it was like, okay, there's like 40 CrossFit gyms in the Twin Cities at that time, I would guess. And there were 12 Core Power Yogas. And if you do the math, Core Power Yoga has more members than all the CrossFits combined. So that's a good way to wrap your head around how much bigger the broader fitness space is. Obviously, like 15 million people a day do Zumba. Zumba is awesome. Like, have you ever done? You've probably
No, I've never done it.
It's fucking awesome.
I got to go do it.
Yeah,
that's hysterical.
It's dancing, and people look down.
I cannot see myself dancing.
It's fun.
Zumba.
Like, it's
really
cool. Yeah, you'd love it. I'm sure. I mean, Kenny dances. Kenny teaches dancing.
We can't stop Kenny from dancing.
So like, I mean, like,
Kenny's like baby that you try to put in the corner.
Yeah.
Kenny is like,
he made us learn a dance once, and it was awkward. But then, like, I don't know, I've grown as a human or whatever. But yeah, I went to Mexico and did Zumba every day.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like, wow. I mean, I listened to a How I Built This on Zumba, which is one of my favorite How I Built This, about how they grew and became a worldwide phenomenon. And 15 million people a day do Zumba, and people like us, not like you and I, of course, don't, but some like fit,
hold up here, because we're getting a little bit of static from there.
Some weightlifting people, CrossFit people would be like, oh, Zumba's stupid.
Right.
No, Zumba gets people off their
butts,
and they move,
anything
and they have
that
fun.
That,
and 15 million people a day do it.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
crazy.
Incredible. Like the scale of things was like, well, we got a bigger addressable market than we think, and we want to open ourselves up to be able to grow, which many, I would dare say, like almost all successful CrossFits have done that, where they're trying to offer a CrossFit Light or a boot camp or yoga or some kind of yoga hybrid.
So not to say I told you so again, I said that years ago on the show, and I remember Brick was one of the first to kind of start doing that. And I was getting yelled at by people. They were like, that's what we do. And friends of mine that were in the business, I would say, look, you've got people like my wife that look at CrossFit and say to themselves, it makes you big. And they don't want traps, and they don't want this. And they're like, well, strong is the new sexy, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, you can try that all you want and try to change society. But I don't think your revolution in fitness is going to change the thousands of years of societal, and you might have the right intentions. It might be, from a feminism standpoint, it might be but I said, I just don't think you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And
that's a tough uphill battle.
A crazy uphill battle.
Because the funny thing that people like don't want to talk about that concept is like, for women specifically, as we're talking about, if you do CrossFit really consistently and you eat the diet you're prescribed, like, they do get bigger. Like, their legs get bigger, and that's great. I think it's awesome. Yeah. It is good, but some women just don't want that to happen to them. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
They want what they want.
Yeah. And so I said this for years, and people got mad. And then I would see these places branching off, like the F45s, and Brick had, I forget what they called it, speed something.
Yep.
And
Brick when they launched in LA, they did CrossFit and kickboxing and like two other modified things, and they did brick BX or something. Yeah. And they were like,
and JP's been very successful with it. And I said, why don't you, open yourselves up to bringing this in? And I saw a lot of gyms doing that and making certain levels and different types of classes. And a lot of gyms are doing it. I said, that's great, because you're opening it up to a lot more membership. And then I went to Atlanta and I did I think it was CrossFit Peachtree maybe, or no, CrossFit Buckhead. I can't remember which one. But after class, they said, hey, do you want to stick around for yoga? And I was like, I go to yoga with my wife, and I go just to make her happy, and I hate it because I hate all the and whole, okay, now namaste.
Yep.
I got kicked out of yoga during Happy Baby, saying I felt like I was being raped. And this woman said, you've been making weird noises the whole time. She's like, that was offensive, blah, blah, blah. She's like, can you just leave? And my wife goes, you just got kicked out of yoga.
Who gets kicked out of yoga?
So I didn't want to do yoga, and they were all like, hey, come on, stay. And I stayed, and they're like, it's not typical yoga. It's like CrossFit yoga. Like, we're just going to go through fast.
Like recovery yoga or something. Yeah.
And we did it, and I went, I need to do that every day.
Yeah.
Like, that was so important. That's what I'm missing. Why isn't everyone doing this? And then I saw my CrossFit that I belonged to in LA, they would do a yoga class once a week. But it was yoga, and it was a yoga class, and I'm lying on the dirty floor, and it just wasn't there. And then
it wasn't there for us either. We didn't do a good job at it.
And then Diamond Dallas Page came out with his, and I kept saying I was talking to a friend at Kenny's gym, and I said, she's creating that kind of yoga that you're talking about. And I said, somebody should call it effing yoga. Just fucking yoga. Like, you go in, you're a guy, because guys will say, yeah, I need yoga, but it's so hard to get a guy to go to yoga, even though any guy that's in strength and conditioning will say to you, I know, I need it.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Bad. I need it so bad.
And that's one piece. Just we can I'm sure we'll tie it together, but that's another piece is time. Everyone knows they should do yoga. Everyone knows they should do conditioning. Everyone knows they should do strength training. Everyone knows they should do mobility, but you don't have time to prioritize that because we're busy, and our customer is 33 with young kids, or whatever it is, and yoga is going to fall out the window for anyone who's fitness.
Yeah, oriented. Because you prioritize.
Yeah,
and that one comes I'll fix an injury when I get the injury. Yeah. I don't need the last thing I need is that because I think we're all narcissistic, and we're all going, as much as people say, oh, I do it for the PRs, or I do it for the feeling. You do it a lot for the aesthetics.
Yeah, look good, feel good is really what you should do.
And yoga, it does make you look good, but you don't. Guys want the bulk, they want the strength, they want and yoga, they're thinking lean and flexible and not. So it's going lower on the priority list. But as you get older, as I have, you start realizing, no, this has to move up the priority list. Yeah. And I surf a lot, and most of the guys that I know that are really good surfers, good friends, I've had him on the show, Jamie Sterling. He's a pro surfer, big wave surfer. I mean, he does yoga. He teaches yoga. It's so important.
Yeah, totally.
It's so important. Last night at my show, Matt, your coach, came to the show, and after the show, a bunch of guys from another, is it Farmingdale? Is that an area? Farmington?
Yeah.
So a bunch of guys, I think it was CrossFit Calypso.
Okay.
They came out to the show.
Nice.
And we were all talking after the show, and it was a bunch of meatheady good guys. They were just total CrossFitters. Yep. And after the show, we were talking about, they're like, come work out with us. And I was like, well, I'm going to Alchemy tomorrow. Yep. And they were like, we started discussing what it is. I let Matt explain it. And they were like, hey, maybe we'll come with you.
Nice. That's
they were
great.
like, hey, we need to do yoga too. You know, we're getting old now.
Yeah.
And it's it's amazing. So I haven't even really let you explain what your classes are.
I'm doing
it's my
that
fault.
too.
I digress.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, we're kind of leading into it, and so to tie it all together, it was like all these pieces, gap in the marketplace. What CrossFit was getting a lot of penetration or saturation, whatever you want to call it, in our area and nationally. boutique was just starting to blow up, I would say. Like 14 is when I feel like was a big blow up year for boutique group fitness studios on the high end. And that's Core Power Yoga, Soul Cycle, Orange Theory Fitness, all the bar studios. I noticed that I'm not mentioning any CrossFit because I think CrossFit is its own category because it's just like off the radar. It's hidden away. It's a weird thing. It's hard to wrap your head around. But anyways, we loved CrossFit. Like we were all CrossFitters. We loved it. We believed in it. We wanted to keep growing. We felt like we had a thing that was kind of special. And that was take a 10-minute AMRAP with no barbells. So you can use dumbbells and kettlebells, no barbells, because barbells take up too much space. And they're kind of scary, but primarily they take up too much space. That doesn't work operationally. 10-minute AMRAP, do a dynamic warm-up that maybe is yoga-based, and then do mobility or recovery, some kind of thing. And we started it, our test was exactly what I said, and it was like yoga flow warm-up, 10-minute AMRAP, and then bust out the lacrosse balls and do K-Star mobility WOD stuff. And that was clunky. That didn't quite do it. So we evolved it over the course of a year within our CrossFit gyms, testing it out.
Forgive me for interrupting, but I know a lot of people are listening right now, and they're going, well, that's kind of what we do at our gym. But I don't think they understand fully what you developed into, that it's not that clunky, as you say. It's like choreographed, and it flows from the very second you start till the second you finish, that you are moving the entire time. And it's almost like it's a class. It's not a stop, take a break, put this back. It's like, it's not aerobics, but it's aerobic style. Like everyone's moving, doing the same thing for the most part. And when we started testing, it was clunky. It was kind of like 1 part, 2 part, 3 part. But over the course of a year, we started doing like 1 class a week at our St. Paul gym, and we'd get 20 people, or we get 10 people to come. And it was kind of clunky. We'd get some feedback, and then we evolved it over a year, and it did become, we even developed our own language. We developed nomenclature around what the transition was like, and it was all based around having an amazing 40 or 50-minute experience. Was that intentional, or did it just start to happen?
It started to happen, but we were also it was like taking all the influences. It's like, what is really, really successful? Core Power Yoga Sculpt is more successful than, I won't say all the CrossFits, but in the markets that they're dominant in, Core Power Yoga Sculpt, there are more people doing that than CrossFit, period. Right. And that is a similar, like, it's a flow. It's meant to be a workout. It's a flow. You have a station and you do something, whatever it is. You do yoga movements fast is what Sculpt is. And so we took that a little bit. We took what we loved, which is a CrossFit workout, circuit style workout. And we were like, well, we can't do it for time because we want to make it structured, set to a time. Like what's an annoying thing from a coach's standpoint? That one dickhead who takes 20 minutes to do the 10-minute workout. No matter how good of a coach you are, you got some guy,
I could be that guy.
Yeah, me too. We all are.
Doing my wrist wraps.
We all are, and that works.
Let me chalk up again.
And then we're like, what are some other things we don't think is accessible or we don't love about our CrossFit program? And we did love it. We thought it was really good. Nobody does recovery. We try to put in mobility WOD. We try to make it like a mandatory part of the class, but it just kind of like, even I didn't want to do it. So the recovery is a flow. It's a yoga flow that makes you feel different when you're done. And so it just evolved, and we had this one class, and we quickly were like, all right, let's not do this as part of our CrossFit gym. Let's make our own brand, because we can see where things are going. It's brand based. You're not going to be able to you're limited we're limited with our CrossFit brand. We thought we were limited operating within the model.
But were you still going to do it in your CrossFit gym?
We were not. Yeah.
Okay.
We tested it and we were like, let's make a studio.
Okay.
And let's call it King Pigeon Fitness was our test name. And we got lucky that that's what we did, because I don't think we would have been able to make it an actual thing that really came even close, obviously, to what it is, if we did it within the doors of our CrossFit gym. So we decided and we came up with the brand Alchemy 365, and the whole concept to differentiate. So we looked and we were like, all right, we love CrossFit. We did a pretty good job with our business. We're going to keep operating it back in 13, 14. But we want to compete with the Core Powers and Orange Theories. We want to compete in the broader boutique fitness space and create a national brand. That's what we wanted to do. And so the way we decided to differentiate was we took what we loved about our CrossFit practice, which is strength and conditioning that really, really works. Add recovery. And that's something that doesn't exist still in the boutique space, something that is in this kind of boutique environment that you and I are in, where it's high end, it's got nice showers, it's clean, it has a front desk, it's got a lot of stuff for sale. The players that have had
it's very soul. I've done Soul Cycle. It's very Soul Cycle.
Yeah. All those players.
Except that I don't have to rent the shoes.
Yeah, for sure. Soul Cycle is crazy. The thing that all those players have is they do one thing really well. Like you do spinning for Soul Cycle. Core Power does yoga. Orange Theory has one class and they do it really well. But it's not a complete program. Like you can't, if you're a fitness enthusiast, you can't go to Soul Cycle only. You have to go to Soul Cycle and you have to lift weights and you have to do yoga and maybe one other thing. And that's what they do. And so we wanted to have the environment that people love, a program that works, and it be complete. So we added A Strong, which is a barbell class, and it's 30 minutes. And we still struggle with it because our customer is the boutique fitness customer, and they've never done barbell training. So it's still a challenge.
I looked around at the class I took, and I think I counted 18 women and like 6 guys in the class. And I was like, okay, I can see this being, there's like this being more popular with women than men because we were doing pull-ups, we were doing box jumps, we were doing squats, we were doing kettlebell swings. And it was like a Metcon going on within all of it, but there wasn't the heavy lifting, which is going to make me stronger. Right next to it, you've got the studio with the weights, with that. And so to add that, and I think once this moves over, I think the concept's incredible, but I think once this develops and evolves more into where there's 18 women and 18 men in the class, where you're going to have the men going and saying, like, if I came here, I would go, I'm going to do 2 to 3 days a week of the strong class. And I'm going to do 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 days of this, and I've got it. Yeah. I've got everything I need till I'm 95 years old. Hopefully,
it is.
I've got the workout that I'm going to be able to do when I'm not. Yes, you can do CrossFit. I know you can scale it to when you're 80, but this doesn't need to be scaled. And I can work on my strength. I can work on my conditioning. I can work on my flexibility, my mobility, my stability, my conditioning. Everything can be done here. Not saying it can't be done at CrossFit either. Yeah. But I just see this as a really, really positive evolution.
Thanks, man.
And I think you're on to something big. When I first went to Soul Cycle, I was like, this is just spin class.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
I mean, the woman that owns Soul Cycle lives in Malibu and has this like $20 million home. And I'm like, what did she figure out that she turned Soul Cycle into a sorority class?
It's unreal
that they're screaming and chanting but we used to joke about it. I forget what we used to say on this show. We wanted to create Soul Fit.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you're doing CrossFit on the Soul Cycle. Like we need to invent a class that is, but I think you've done that. I've said it was amazing when Matt got a hold of me, he said, hey, I've been talking about this forever. This needs to be happening. And because all I say to my wife all the time is, I need to go to yoga more. I need to go to, but I just don't. When Matt said, hey, come down and do this class, I go, do I have to take my fucking shoes off? And he goes, no, man, wear your Metcons. And I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah. This is, I felt, and CrossFitters, when they do this, will find out that the class went without me. Just like, hey, dude, we're starting, goodbye. Yeah. And I didn't know what was happening, but every single pose we got into, because of my CrossFit experience, I knew every one of those.
Yeah, it's all basic stuff.
And it would, out of the corner of my eye, I would see everybody else. And I'm like, I know this one. I'll do this one. I know this one. There was not anything that was out of my realm of understanding. So I quickly was able to just stay on pace. It was like I felt like a musician that was jamming with another band.
Yeah.
And I didn't know their songs, but I could play along. And it was as hard as I wanted to make it or as easy as I wanted to make it. And it doesn't have some of the aspects of CrossFit, you're not riding my, and there was a little bit of me like, hey, are we gonna all talk about how many reps we got? Because I think I crushed the dude in front of me.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part of it. Where anyone who does CrossFit would jump in and have no problem figuring out what to do. We try to make it so that someone who's newer can figure it out, which can be challenging because we do all the movements that you do in a CrossFit gym, like squatting, pressing, some basic Olympic lifting stuff. But an interesting thing that we saw. Because what we were doing when we launched Alchemy was we were taking a 600-member CrossFit business and launching a new brand and telling all of our members, like, hey, guys, come check this out. And we were like, what's going to happen? And it turned out that it was very interesting that many of them tried it and they all supported and they were awesome. And Alchemy was built by the referrals of our CrossFit members, 100%, and the support of them. And but some people jump ship over to Alchemy, but the reality is it's a concept that's positioned for a slightly different customer, like I said. And the people if you love CrossFit, you're going to do CrossFit.
Yep.
And same thing with me. Like I want to do CrossFit once or twice a week.
Yep.
Because I do want to have that feeling like you can't get the intensity level that you can get in a CrossFit workout here. Like it's not quite there, but it doesn't need to be there for the right customer, as we're talking about. The risk is lower. It's for a slightly different person. And that's a really interesting thing. And that's where it's like getting into like the evolution of CrossFit, where I think I don't know how it's going to happen. I guess thousands of CrossFits going out of business, but I think the right thing is where a CrossFit gym is more like I do jiu-jitsu. Like a CrossFit gym should be more like a jiu-jitsu place where it's like, it's pretty niche. Like there, if you want to do CrossFit, you can find it, but it's not like every street corner has a CrossFit gym. I just think that if CrossFit's done well, plays a nice role within the overall fitness space.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just think it got what do I say? CrossFit is so effective and so good that too many people wanted to become a gym owner. And
I think we used to talk about
that. What I mean?
Like in this class, every person's thinking, I'm going to open my own.
It's like, oh my God, this is so amazing for me.
In the early 2000s when I was like partying a lot and everything, every guy I knew wanted to open their own bar. Yeah. They wanted to open a bar. And then it became all those guys that partied started like working out because they were unhealthy. Yeah. And then they all wanted to open a gym.
Yeah.
And CrossFit was
it's too good for its own good in the sense where like it's so effective that everyone wanted to open. And I don't know. I just think it's,
but I we'll get into like what you guys are going to do in the future, but, this model complements CrossFit too.
Yeah.
And like I said, for someone that doesn't enjoy yoga, like I don't need the meditation aspect of it. I don't need I get that in my own ways, and maybe some people do, and that's good for them and they go to yoga. But I was recently at CrossFit Cornelius in Lake Norman in North Carolina, and I walked in and I looked around and I didn't see any barbells, and I was like, what's going on? And they had the what are they called? The TRX bands hanging. And I was like, what's happening? And the girl goes, are you looking for CrossFit? And I go, yeah, it's on Google. She goes, it's across the parking lot. So I go over to CrossFit, and it's a great CrossFit Cornelius. Thanks for having me. And I talked to the owner for a while. His wife across the parking lot has the high intensity interval training, kind of no weights workout thing over there. I think they call it C2 or something, or C4. I forget what it was. Yeah. But and I was like, oh, great, because that's where my in-laws live. I'm like, when I come here, I'll go to CrossFit, and I'll send my wife over there, and every once in a while, I'll go there with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is something. I can't do CrossFit 6 days a week. I just can't do it.
Yeah, that was something for us when we launched it. We had a clear vision, which was create a national brand, but we didn't know what would happen. So we opened one studio, and we maintained a reciprocity where unlimited CrossFit members could go to Alchemy 365. That's part of their membership, which is a nice add-on, and a lot of people use that. And
those were up from your CrossFit gyms, or from any?
Just from ours.
Okay.
Just from ours. They had reciprocity, so they could attend. And then we were like, well, unfortunately, you can't go both ways, because that's where I think where a place like Alchemy and all these boutiques like Orange Theory and everything are true. They can be a good feeder system for a CrossFit gym, because I use crawl, walk, run, sprint analogy, where it's like Zumba's crawl, Soul Cycle and Core Power Yoga are walk or run. Alchemy is run, and then CrossFit is sprint. CrossFit is you become an enthusiast, you start making gains, you start making progress. You're like, what's next? Right. Then you go to CrossFit, and that's a whole side story. But one of the challenges of the CrossFit customer is that they have a relentless pursuit of the new thing and getting better and better, and it's hard to keep them satisfied. which is why every CrossFit gym started a competition program to appease that, and then they ended their competition program because it was killing their culture.
Yeah.
And, the story.
Yeah.
But anyways, CrossFit's like the end game for a lot of people, I think. And it can be the beginning too. Like the right structured CrossFit gym is for anybody behaviorally who's adept to it. But yeah, a place like Alchemy, it is an end game as well, because it's got everything. But yeah, that was kind of a part of the initial concept, was have some reciprocity and they'll feed each other.
So how many do you own now?
Alchemy?
Yeah.
6. We just opened our 6th, and they're all corporate owned. We just opened our first one in Denver in September. And it's a weird thing. There's been times when it's felt really, really easy. And there's been times when it's been so challenging that it's crippling.
I think that's the essence of success, though. I think in everything I've ever done that's been successful, there's been this kind of a bit of a flow, like where it's catching, and it's like it's going, but there's still lots of hard work that has to be there. And then there's been times where I'm like, this just isn't working. This isn't fucking working. Yeah. But this seems to be working, but I realize there's a lot of hard work behind it.
Yeah, it's hard. Like the Soul Cycle thing, I know they had their challenges, but I feel like they I know this is not true, but it looks like Soul Cycle launched in 2006, and it's one of those things where they're like, they couldn't meet the demand fast enough, and they stumbled upon the perfect business model.
But if you talk to them, they would probably tell you differently, because I've interviewed so many people and have friends of mine that just look like their careers were so easy, and they got this TV show and this movie, and then they were selling out theaters and and then you'll talk to them, they're like, I had to move in with my wife's parents and we were broke and we went bankrupt and we blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you just did a movie. And they're like, yeah. And then after the movie, we did a tour and the tour failed. And so I think everyone that's successful has that. And that's, if you go listen to Tony Robbins shit, they're going to tell you that. And everyone that talks about it, and it's the contrast that makes it so good. The mountains, when you get to the top of the mountain, it's because you were down in that valley, and it's so great when you get there. And I keep feeling like I've been fucking climbing this mountain forever, but it's from the outsider, it looks like a 100% success. And a weird thing that might be just an observation from me is that CrossFit had this weird kind of mentality of, you're going to start this gym, you can do it anywhere. You can do it in a garage. You're going to run on the street. You don't really need anything. Just get this and get these shitty weights and blah, blah, blah. It's all about the coaching. It's not about the thing. So everybody's office was in a broom closet, or, everybody started in these weird places. So there was this kind of rogue punk rock kind of we don't give a fuck. And where this is completely separate. So you had to go from that to, hey, well, you have to have, the bathrooms have to be clean, and we have to have locker space, and we have to have, cleaning ladies come in and, cleaning people. Someone's going to get very upset about that. We have to have cleaning people come in constantly, and we need to have, after we worked out, everyone wiped down, and cleaned off their mats or whatever it was today. And that is probably why it seems so hard, because CrossFit was almost easy in that way.
Yeah, it is in that way.
And this
it worked.
was so much that you had to oversee.
Yeah, this was, it was like, it's still a relatively simple business compared to some other industries. I can
give it from an analogy. You went from a burger stand to a fine French restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that hasn't felt hard. It's felt hard to establish the processes to make it feel effortless. Mm-hmm. So that's a challenge. But yeah, we've got all the pieces. We have a brand. Like, our industry is very, very, very brand centric. If you're not brand forward, if you're not crushing it on social media and just reinforcing what your brand is to their customer, you're not going to stand out. The beauty of our space, and like, I'm thankful that I found CrossFit, is that you can find a space even today and build a business as a personal trainer or a small group fitness shop that you can make a living and be proud of even today with low investment. But if you want to be like, oh yeah, we're going to open a yoga studio and compete with Core Power Yoga, you need $500,000 to open your studio, and you need some serious capital, and you need a marketing team.
Well, I think that's the difference between your average Joe that's quitting his plumbing business to get into CrossFit, and you've got an MBA.
The MBA wasn't necessary. Like, there's plenty who would have evolved, but and I've made so many mistakes and failures along the way. But yeah, the pieces are there. Brand, the concept works. If from a business standpoint, you call it product market fit as a startup world. The concept works. It's something that people resonate with. Our average studios in January are going to be 200 visits a day. First week's free, then we convert people. It's $159 a month to membership, so it's kind of priced right around where Orange Theory is actually. Good retention, good. Low injury rate, all that stuff. Everything works really well.
What's your overhead compared to we're hearing them cheer at the end of class. Yeah. What's your overhead compared to CrossFit?
So the rent is our big factor that we would say is unproven. We're not certain what the ideal rent amount is. We have 6 now. 2 of them are in low rent locations that are just cheap. They're one-off. Mm-hmm. They're not main and main. 3 of them are high rent, and 1 of them is medium rent. And so we're still new enough. Those high rent ones are all less than 2 years old. So that's the thing that we're trying to prove. Yeah. Can we open anywhere like Orange Theory can? Because Orange Theory's concept is simple enough that they can open in a smaller studio. So we still have a lot of shit we got to figure out before we can say, yeah, we're going to open up 1 million, but we're on track.
One of the things you use is it's a combination of like kettlebells called a torpedo.
Yeah.
And that was your invention?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like
my only invention.
It's almost like a kettlebell with 2 ends to it.
That's right.
And so we only used it as a kettlebell today, which was fine. It was just like using a kettlebell. Maybe a little more swing to it because of the length of it.
And you don't typically go overhead because it's a little bit too much swing.
Yeah, we were doing just Russians, but you were. So I assume that you use it like 2 dumbbells.
Yep, 2 dumbbells, or with hands on both ends, like a barbell.
Okay.
So that was the big thing where we were like, all right, we need to fit more people in a smaller space. That's that overhead thing. And that's one of the challenges of a CrossFit gym is you need like a 10 by 10 foot space per individual. And the studio, the places, if you want to be in a high profile, like expensive rent location, like quote unquote good location, you need to be able to fit more people in less space.
It's like a restaurant.
Yeah, it's all about throughput. Yep. And so that's one of the challenges of the CrossFit business model. And so yeah, we started with dumbbells and kettlebells, and that took up a lot of space, and it was a little bit more clunky. And we started drawing, and yeah, we just drew it out, and it's a pretty simple thing.
Now, did you patent that?
Yeah, we have a patent through, and we're like, I've seen one copycat, so we're like having to decide whether to go down the path of legal stuff and defending intellectual property, which is all unfortunately a huge distraction from the core business. So we have to like focus on.
I would see that being one of your biggest issues, though, is that people could bastardize what you're doing. They look at this, and I mean, I'm sure there are people listening to this show right now that are going, "Hey, let's just see what they do in class, and we'll offer a class like this." Yeah,
it's a weird thing. Like our challenge, I mean, our industry is hyper growth. The boutique fitness space, which Alchemy 365 and CrossFit gyms all fall under, is the boutique group fitness space. Is hyper growth. It's driving all the growth in the fitness industry. It's very competitive. There are big players with lots of capital entering and growing in the marketplace, and so we thought, like, everyone when they're getting ready to launch a business thinks like, oh, what if everyone copies us? And that is a risk, like if you're creating certain things. But for us, that's not been an issue whatsoever. Like we have a hard enough time competing with big players who have very different concepts. And it's more like the secret sauce thing where you can obviously say slap a yoga CrossFit without barbell yoga workout and do it. It's just hard to put it all together.
Right.
To put it all together, it just takes.
Nobody wants to wear knockoff Nikes.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just something about it, and
or as they call them in China, psyches.
Yeah, psyche. So yeah, the knockoff copycat is, so far we're 4 years in. It's almost a non-issue in terms.
I can't believe I just heard about this, and you've been around 4 years, because I just see it. It just looks like such a success, and. Are you going to offer franchises, or are you going to stick with the corporate model that you own all of them?
We're staying corporate now. Mm-hmm. So this past year was a really, really big year for us because we moved into a new market, into Denver. So last year we opened 2 locations in what I said previously, expensive rent locations. Mm-hmm. So that's like, a different game a little bit. And then this year we opened 2 locations, one of which was in Denver, and that turned out to be as risky and scary as everyone said it would be. We were successful.
Why not California, seeing that California is like the yoga CrossFit capital of the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't even look at California, to be honest.
San Diego, this seems like...
I know, I want to go to San Diego. Primarily, we didn't look at LA because LA is very hyper competitive, it's saturated, has a lot of innovative players. So we were like, yeah, can we? We don't know.
And it's hard. The rent's expensive. And
it's super expensive. So Denver was, we looked at 5 markets, and we kind of looked medium size, fast growth that's similar to the Twin Cities. Okay. And Denver is very similar. Faster growth, good fitness market, reasonable rent rates, and easy to get to.
Sounds like you got a good community here.
Yeah,
Hashtag
pretty
community.
Impressive.
They seem like they're having a pretty good time.
Yeah.
It is New Year's Eve when we're recording this.
That's right.
Question about, and then we'll end this up pretty soon. Franchising, not just but like everybody's probably listening and going, where'd you get the resources to do it? Did it all come from your CrossFit gyms, or did you went out and got investor money for it?
Yeah, it took a lot of I had drinks with a friend from high school's husband, and he was being kind of a dick. And what I said was, it takes financial magic to do startups without diluting your entire ownership. Right. And he was a federal government contractor, so he has no idea. He's never even met a startup person. And he was like, that sounds like something Donald Trump would say. I was like, did you just compare me to Donald Trump? And, I was not happy with him. But anyways, it takes a little bit of magic because you can do the numbers and the math kind of doesn't add up. Like it's almost impossible to get there, but people figure it out. And so what we did, and looking back, it sounds simple, but it was really not. That was one of the harder things that I've done, is the finance side. And so we had 4 partners who were you call sweat equity partners that came from the CrossFit business. And we took on one partner named Molly, who was from Core Power Yoga. She had run some studios and opened studios, and she was like our yoga person. Also like our studio, she had experience in a successful boutique fitness studio. So we all put in $80,000 $80 something thousand bucks that we all didn't really even have still, even though we had a successful CrossFit gym. And we took on one equity partner who was a founder because it was before, and he put in $200,000. So we said $286,000. And that got us the first 2 studios open. And that was really lucky because we found 2 locations, one of which we're sitting in. This is our second location, that the landlord had a relatively low rent, and they funded the tenant improvement dollars. So they funded the entire construction. They paid for it.
Wow. And
they basically just handed us the keys to a finished studio.
Wow.
Which I haven't been able to find that kind of deal since. But the first 2, we wrote like $20,000 each to them, and we had these studios, which, as you can see, they're relatively high end. They're not the highest end. Like a Core Power is a slightly higher expense finish, but they're expensive. And so then we started getting, to get the next 2 open, we were able to get bank debt and it's hard to get bank debt if you don't have someone who has a lot of assets who's willing to do a personal guarantee. But we had the CrossFit business, so we had 5 or 6 years of history at that point. So using 4 of our founders' personal guarantees tied to the history of the CrossFit business and a year's worth of operations with Alchemy, we were able to get bank debt.
God, as you're telling me all this, I'm like, God, I'd hate to do your books.
It's tough, yeah. They were simple for a while.
Yeah.
Bank debt to get the next 2 locations open. And then this year, we were getting ready to open in Denver. We ran out of the ability to get traditional bank debt. The banks were like, yeah, you guys, you're too risky. We can't lend to you. So we raised equity for the first time. So we did convertible debt round in the beginning of the year. And then we did an equity round that we just closed 3 weeks ago. So we raised total this year. We raised.
So are those LLCs?
We were an LLC, and we raised money where we converted to a corporation. Okay. And we basically sold stock to individuals. Okay. Is what we did, and we did it. We called it. It's called a seed round because it's almost entirely angel investors and friends and family.
Interesting. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we raised like $1.8 million total to fund the Denver location, an Uptown location, some of the scale up costs, and it was an expensive year to open in a new market.
So I know you're like a total business guy. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now with this?
I think 5 years from now, this year we're going to prove the concept. This year we're going to prove out the concept and get it even tighter than it is now. Make sure we feel like we're ready to scale, which we do, but we want to make sure that we've got some time under our belt with these new studios. I would say a couple more in Denver, and then a couple new markets. And 5 years from now should be a good point where we start opening in multiple markets. And I'd like to say we have an online business, which is our workouts done at your home. And it's very bootstrapped. And I would like to say that has been developed a lot more in the next 5 years. It won't be in the next year, but we really want that to be a nice accompaniment to our customer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where we'll be in the next 5 years.
Well, the reason I really probably would never usually talk about all this in-depth shit, the reason I'm talking about it is because I believe in it. And I have a feeling 5 years from now, people will be like, remember when you had them on? And now they're,
I hope so.
Yeah,
God,
I do. I think you've got something here. I think it's very interesting. I called my wife right after class and I go, oh my God, if they had this where we live, you'd be there every day. This is
That's
right
awesome.
up your alley. And I think it's a great business model. I think it's a great idea. Everyone's super nice here and everything. Well, would you play in lacrosse? What school?
I played at Roanoke College, Division III.
I know Roanoke. Yeah. I was recruited by them
really?
In Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep, to go run track there. And I don't know where the static's coming from right now. Oh, I was recruited to run track there, and there weren't many schools that were after me because I had such bad grades.
Yeah.
And Roanoke was like, "Hey, we'll take you."
Yeah, yeah.
And then they saw my grades, and they're like, "We won't take you."
Yeah, my dad literally, like, I got into the Naval Academy, and that's obviously an awesome school.
It's amazing.
But I didn't want to go there, even though I ultimately joined the Marine Corps. But my dad still, on Christmas, and it's been almost 20 years, he was like, this is the guy who turned down a free ride to the Naval Academy to go to Roanoke College. And it's an awesome school.
Is your dad military background?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where did you grow up?
I grew up in Virginia, in the D.C. area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that was fairly close.
Yeah.
And you wanted the college experience.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
I find it. When I ever see guys go into the military schools, I'm like, you're going to give up those 4 years of like a really fucking good time.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to believe that you have fun when you're in a military school.
I don't think you have a lot of fun.
But then you went, because I didn't get to talk about you. We've talked about the business so much. You you eventually did go into the military.
Yeah, I joined the Marine Corps after college.
As an officer, though.
Yeah, as in the infantry officer.
And you did tours in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
2003, it was wild times. It was so quick that it's like a blur. Because it was a while ago now. But yeah, 2 tours. Iraq, we did the invasion. We were part of Task Force Tarawa, and so we were like kind of like the lead effort that cleared a couple big cities so that the main army division could take Baghdad.
So you were in battles.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pretty lucky. It was pretty like moderate.
Right.
There were a couple, like the company next to us would always be, would have a really heavy, serious battle, and we were moderate. So
would you come in after them, or they were,
or just kind of just luck of the draw type thing? To be honest, honestly.
I read a book called NAM, and it was just NAM, and it was a great book. They interviewed all these people that went to Vietnam, and some of them were nurses, some of them were medics, some of them were pencil pushers or pilots. And the one thing that was really weird, you'd hear these guys that say they never experienced any action at all, 0.
Yeah.
And then there were guys that were like, from the second I landed till the second I got on the plane, as we were flying out, they were shooting at me.
Yeah, it's luck of the draw. Yeah. And ours was like moderate.
Right.
So it was I got to have just kind of like all the experiential part without the trauma.
Right.
To be frank,
that's a great thing because of all the PTSD
personally
and shit that guys go through that I always feel bad about. One of the things we do on the show is we have a sponsor, which is the Myopucks and the Leopard Claw, and great guy runs this and helps us out. And one of the things they do, the Resiliency Project, they take care of.
Yep.
I guess you know about them. The guys downrange that are fighting, and they supply them with Myopucks and Leopard Claw. The Leopard Claw especially, it's like they have it like in a non-shiny metal so that these guys can't be reflecting anything, and can take care of like muscles that need. So we'll get you one of those, and the Myopucks is great to flush out any bad, any waste that's going on in your body and injuries. I got to get one. I usually bring mine with me, and I didn't bring it. And I got this shoulder thing that I got to deal with. And I was like, fuck, I need my Myopucks.
Yeah, right.
So we'll get you one of those. And anybody that listens to the show, if you give to our Patreon, at least $5 a month, you get yourself in there, and we award one every week. I have not announced who the winner is this week. I'll do it. I have. I did it earlier today.
Nice.
So you'll hear it in the intro. You heard it in the intro. If you heard your name, you're going to be getting one. So thank you guys for supporting the show. You can always check us out at wadcastpodcast.com. You can go to our Instagram. The Instagram is up. It is going now. We had some issues because Scott was running the Instagram before and converted it into a new Instagram. So we're back with Wadcast Podcast on Instagram. Our Facebook, we always post stuff there, and I'm going to take some pictures here. You can look at pictures or some video from Alchemy, and if you want to check me out live, eddief.com is where to go. Next week, I'm in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona,
Nice.
at the House of Comedy.
Awesome.
Come see me. My shows are all sold out New Year's Eve, so here. So next week, that's the first weekend in January, I'm at the House of Comedy. After that, I'm going to be in, I believe it is Michigan, in Ann Arbor. I'll tell you this, too. The good things, when I'm in Arizona, I'm interviewing James Fitzpatrick.
Awesome.
For what the first winner of the CrossFit Games, who now runs.
Yeah, he's awesome.
OPEX, which is, its own kind of boutique fitness.
Own brand.
Yeah, its own brand. And then I'm going to be at Hyperfit with one of the OGs of CrossFit.
Dougie.
Yeah.
I love him. Tell him I say hello.
Oh, good. Definitely. Yeah. He is a good dude. So he crushed me years ago, and I'm going to bring up that story. I came in and I didn't, it was an open workout, and I was late because I couldn't find my way there. And he goes, "You're late." And, he's like a military type guy. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." And I was like, he's like, "Jump in." And I was like, "But I didn't even warm up." He's like, "Yeah, because you're late.
Yeah.
You missed the warm up." And he's like, "Get your bar."
That's
and I was
great.
like,
I love it.
And then I was in pretty good shape at the time. And I just exploded and looked like an idiot in front of everyone. And he was like, "Oh, what's the matter?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck." So
that's great.
I will be there. I'm going to be at the Comedy Showcase in Ann Arbor, Michigan, going to Hyperfit. And then the week after that, I am going to Sunnyvale, California. I'll be at Rooster T. Feathers. That's like the third weekend in January. I'll be at Rooster T. Feathers, and I'm going to be interviewing everybody from Kelly Starrett to Marcus Philly. We're trying to get Jason Khalipa. So we're going to have some good interviews there. And then the week after that, I'll be back in Pittsburgh at the Improv in Pittsburgh. Then I'm going to Boston and New York. I'll be at Laugh Boston and the Comedy Cellar in New York City. Check out all my dates at eddief.com. Australia tour is up now. Adelaide, Launceston, Sydney. Check them all out. eddief.com. Thank you guys for all the support. Thanks for sticking with me through the weird transition we've gone through. And support us on Patreon. And what else can you do? That's about it. You've been great. And check out, if you get a chance, go to Alchemy.
Alchemy365.com.
Alchemy365.com. I'm going to post a lot of pictures, video if I can. And it's amazing. And thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you have a personal anything you want to put on there, and your Instagram page or anything?
Nope, I just do Alchemy.
He's all about the brand. I like this.
I'm j.michael.jones on Instagram.
That's why it's going to be really successful. Last thing, why the Alchemist book?
So the name, our business name, was inspired by the book The Alchemist.
Okay, which is a great book.
Yeah, it was an awesome book, and it's about the guy pursuing his personal legend, and it resonated with us. We were trying to come up with a name. It came up, and we use a lot of that imagery and language from the book.
That's great. And it's a good book that everyone should read. Thanks for listening. You can check us out on YouTube. You can't, because the Patreon, I just put the videos up on the Patreon. $3 a month. You can watch the videos. They're exciting. We sit here and talk. But thanks a lot. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.